Class, this is your TA Colin Anand, and I'll be making a quick video on how I calculate descriptive statistics in Microsoft Excel, as well as how to make a histogram. One thing to note, I am using the same data set that you'll be using in your assignment, but I've altered the values so you won't be able to check the actual calculations that I use in this video against your own work, as those numbers are going to be different. So if you calculate different sums, means, medians, and modes than I do, don't worry. As long as you follow the methods, your answers should be correct. The first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this question that we don't use, so I can rename this column Social Media Total. To calculate total scores, I'm going to use the equals sum function and select each of these columns here, and then I will autofill this formula down through the rest of the rows. So all the participants have a social media total score. The second thing that I'm going to do is get rid of this word minutes here by using the search and replace function, which we've reviewed before. I will type in plus and then minutes, and I will replace this with nothing. So Microsoft Excel essentially just gets rid of that word for me. I'll turn this not into a 0, and now that I have only numeric values in this column, I'll be able to calculate means, medians, and modes. So I've changed some of the numbers here, so once again, don't use this to check against your own calculations. I'm going to scroll down to the bottom and create a little header called descriptives, and then I'm going to put in mean, median, and mode as labels so I don't forget which formulas I've used. The formula for mean is equals average, so I'm going to type that in, and then I'm just going to select all of the scores here in social media total. So Excel is going to add all those up and divide by the number, and that will give us the average. And if I type in equals median, I can select that same row of values, and I can do the same thing for mode. If you use the formula equals mode or equals mode.multi, what's going to happen is if there's multiple modes in your data set, Excel will list both of those, or as many modes as you have. However, it's not necessary to do that for this data set, as there's only one mode. It's a unimodal set of values. So now that I've calculated that for social media total, since these rows and columns are arranged side by side, I can actually drag these formulas over just like this, and it will automatically fill in these formulas for the corresponding columns. So now this equals mean formula here is being calculated on the time spent on social media. So you don't need to go through and retype those formulas. Excel will autofill those when you drag across the columns. So now I have means, medians, and modes for the three variables that are needed. And I'm going to do a count function to figure out how many males and females there are in this data set. Now, there's two easy ways you could go about doing this. You could sort these if you want and just do the count manually, since there's only two possible choices for this what is your gender question. But I'm going to use a count function. So I'll type in male here, and then female here. And then I'm going to use the command equals count if. And what this does is it has two possible arguments for this formula, range and criteria. The range selection is just all of the values here. So I'll select those and press enter. And then for the criteria, I need to put in a comma, and then I'm just going to select the word male here. And what Excel does is it then looks at all of the cells here, and if the criteria in that cell says male, which is the one I selected, it's going to count it for me. So there are 8 males who have taken this survey, and I can do the same thing for females, so equals count if. I'll select the same range, put a comma in, and then select female. and now Excel gives me the count for that function as well. We already know that there are 54 total participants in this study, but if you didn't know that, you could just go ahead and add these together. Our total is 54, so if I wanted to get a percentage, I will do equals, select the value here, 8, divide by 54, the total, and now I have the percentages of males in the survey, and I'll do the same thing to get the percentages of females within the survey. All right, so now we have our descriptives. We have a percentage count of the gender demographic within our survey. And that is the first step that you need for descriptives, and a second video will show you how to create a histogram.